16 WAPT News at 10 starts now.
Just a tragic situation for the teachers, the principals, and those angels. That's all I keep thinking about is those angels.
A day of learning that turned into a day of horror. 6 adults and 20 young kids were in a gunman's path at a Connecticut elementary school.
Tonight, a small town is trying to make sense of it, while folks here in Mississippi felt the same way 15 years ago. Team coverage of the Connecticut school tragedy.
Now, your weather first.
One thing's for sure, it is a lot warmer tonight. Temperatures are holding in the 50s. Right to live storm shed 16 Doppler radar. We got a batch of showers which has passed off to our north, and that will miss us. There is still a chance of a shower in the middle of the night, and it looks like we could see quite a bit of rain over the weekend. I will pinpoint when to expect the heaviest rain coming up.
All right, thank you, David. A Connecticut community, that is working to heal tonight after 28 people were killed in a shooting spree.
Tonight, families gather to mourn the victims. You can see hundreds of people packed into St. Rose Catholic Church in Newtown. 20 young kids and 6 adults were killed at Sandy Hook Elementary School. ABC's Mark Greenblatt begins our coverage of the Connecticut school tragedy.
Evil visited this community today.
A quaint New England suburb.
I'm still terrified. I think I'm still in shock.
Became a scene of horror. A gunman identified as 20-year-old Adam Lanza, shown here in 2005, barged into Sandy Hook Elementary School and began shooting.
Chaos. Complete chaos. Nobody knew where anyone was.
Kids were crying, not really like screaming, but they're all huddling together.
Teachers rushed to shepherd the young children to safety. They were told to close their eyes on the way out.
We all put our hands on other people's shoulders, and our teacher held the first person's hand, and she let us out.
One teacher spoke exclusively to ABC's Diane Sawyer.
I said, I need you to know that I love you all very much, and that it's going to be okay, because I thought that was the last thing they were ever going to hear. I thought we were all going to die.
As the first alarms went up.
All units, the individual that I have on the phone is continuing to hear what he believes to be gunfire.
A small army of heavily armed police swarmed the school, but not before the gunman had taken his toll.
It's a horrific scene. Between our mutual experience, we've never seen anything like this.
All afternoon, desperate parents converged on this firehouse where the students were taken to safety. Some took their children home, others went away with unimaginable grief. And tonight, the victims were remembered at a candlelight vigil in Newtown.
Similar prayer services are springing up spontaneously all across America, with people turning out from Washington to LA to Portland to Seattle, all to pay their respects to the fallen in what's become a true national tragedy. Mark Greenblatt, ABC News in Newtown, Connecticut.
President Obama, visibly emotional, addressed the nation after learning the details about the shooting. The president's remarks underscore what a horrific day this has been, not just for those in Connecticut, but around the country.
I know there's not a parent in America who doesn't feel the same overwhelming grief that I do. The majority of those who died today were children. Beautiful little kids between the ages of 5 and 10 years old. They had their entire lives ahead of them. Birthdays, graduations, weddings, kids of their own.
In his remarks, the president briefly touched on some other recent shootings: the movie theater in Colorado, the shopping mall in Oregon, and the temple in Wisconsin. He said we have to, quote, come together to take meaningful action to prevent this. Governor Phil Bryant is asking all Mississippians to pray for those impacted from today's shooting in Connecticut. The governor signed an executive order that lowers our state flag along with the American flag in respect for the victims of this tragedy. Here's a look at some of the flags at the state capitol and some other state buildings. They will remain at half-staff until Tuesday.
This tragedy is bringing back a lot of vivid memories from 15 years ago when Luke Woodham opened fire at Pearl High School, killing 2 students. 16 WAPT's Make Pace is in Pearl tonight, where some people couldn't help but relive that day.
Flags across the country at half-staff as the nation mourns Friday's deadly school shooting in Connecticut. It's a tragedy all too familiar to the community of Pearl.
I'll keep that in my office at all times, just as a memory.
James Kitchens doesn't go a day without thinking about Luke Woodham and the lives he took on October 1st, 1997.
And told me there'd been a bad shooting at Pearl High School. Of course, I went directly to the high school.
Kitchens was the district attorney in Rankin County at the time.
But when I got there, is because the 2 young ladies that were killed were still there.
Lieutenant Butch Townsend of the Pearl Police Department still remembers the original call that went out over the scanner.
Reports of maybe firecrackers. Somebody had set off firecrackers or something like that at Pearl High School.
Townsend was headed to check it out when the calls got worse.
There was reports of numerous students down. It just got worse, each radio dispatch. The 2 things I'll remember about my initial assessment going in was the looks of sheer terror and horror on the kids' faces that were running away from the scene as we were running in. They were just looking at you like, please do something to stop this, please help us, help us.
16-year-old Luke Woodham entered the commons area of Pearl High and fired off several shots.
A coach was screaming, everybody was screaming to get out, and everybody was ducking. And the sound would never get out of my mind. Just like boom, 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 boom.
Woodham killed students Lydia Dew and Christina Menifee and shot 7 others. Kitchens prosecuted Woodham in June of 1998. The 16-year-old was sentenced to 3 life terms plus 140 years.
So that was a trying time in my life. That period of time that we dealt with the tragedy here in Pearl.
There's a saying that time heals all wounds, but after 15 years, the wound left here by Luke Woodham is still healing. Reporting in Pearl, Meg Pace, 16 WAPT News.
Woodham also killed his mother on that day. Police say Woodham stabbed her at their home before driving her car to Pearl High School. Well, here is a recap of the Connecticut school tragedy. Police have identified the gunman as 20-year-old Adam Lanza. They say he went on a shooting rampage at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut, which is about 60 miles north of New York City.
The gunfire started around 10:30 this morning, killing 20 children and 6 adults. Before the school shooting, police say he killed his mother at her home. Coming up at 10:35, Nightline will dedicate a full hour to that tragedy. The city of Jackson is shutting down a portion of State Street between Manship Street and Poplar Boulevard so crews can build a pedestrian bridge. Crews say that pedestrian bridge will connect the hospital to the new medical office building. The road will close tonight in about an hour at 11 o'clock and reopen Sunday at 6 p.m. Traffic will be rerouted through the Bellhaven area.
Parts of a Jackson Railway bridge has some residents concerned. Check out these big broken concrete sections that they look like they're ready to fall. This crumbling piece of bridge sits right above North Gallatin Street here in Jackson. As some motorists who drive in that area say they're afraid one of these huge concrete pillars will tumble down right onto the roadway.
It's gonna come down soon with the pressure of a train going by.
I've been here 2 years. I've never seen anything fall. I saw that one hanging, but I don't know why.
Well, the company that owns the bridge, Kansas City Southern, told us that because of our story, they were sending an engineering team out to the site to review the situation.
The Vicksburg Warren School District is in mourning tonight after a 4th student has died in just 3 months. A student died last night at 10 o'clock on Highway 80 near Bovina. Investigators say Aaron Brown lost control of his car, hit a tree, and flipped into a ravine. We're told the 17-year-old senior was heading home from work. Brown's uncle showed up at the scene when our camera was there. He says his family is still numb tonight.
I'm thinking about coming out here and cutting this tree down. What I'm thinking about doing. Because I don't have room to swallow. Look at the bark knocked off of it every time I drive by.
He just loved to sing. And he was very service-oriented. He was very active in his church.
Family members believe Brown lost control after trying to avoid a deer. A crew reconstructed that crash site. Their findings have not been released.
The man best known for the Mao St. Patty's Day Parade has a new job tonight. The Mississippi Development Authority has announced that Malcolm White is the new director of the agency's tourism division. MDA says White brings more than 40 years of experience in the economic development and tourism industries. He previously served for 7 years as the executive director of the Mississippi Arts Commission. He begins his new position January the 14th.
Clinton's police chief is retiring after 42 years of service. Chief Don Byington made that announcement today. City leaders say Byington joined that force when the small department had only 8 officers and 3 patrol cars. He's been Clinton's police chief since 1985. No replacement has been named.
Well, it's time to get those angel tree donations turned in because tomorrow is the last day to do it. Volunteers and workers have to sort, they have to organize and pack the gifts before giving them to the parents. Tonight, there are still more than 100 angels that need to be adopted. The Salvation Army added about 30 more angels from foster care, and about 100 people still need to turn in their gifts.
We don't want a single child in Jackson, Mississippi to go without a Christmas morning of happiness. So we've got to get it processed. We're distributing next Tuesday and Wednesday. Please get them in. We need the help.
And here's a look at the locations you can drop off your donations. The Salvation Army's main office, North Park Mall, all Gray Daniels dealerships, Fitness Lady, and Highland Village.
A Byram church is preparing to reenact the birth of Jesus this weekend. Lakeshore Church will present the Way of the Nativity. It will feature several scenes with more than 300 people and live animals. You can watch it without leaving your car.
We're going to have a drive-through nativity. You don't get out of your car. When you pull up, you're going to get a CD that narrates the scenes, and you're just going to drive through on your own.
Well, those CDs will be available in Spanish and English. The live nativity runs Saturday and Sunday from 6 until 9, and it's free. An emotional night in Connecticut as hundreds gathered to remember the victims in a deadly school shooting. How that community is dealing with the tragedy.
And 2 Memphis police officers are gunned down while serving a warrant. What we have learned about one of those officers that made the ultimate sacrifice.
Lots of clouds tomorrow. If there is to be a shower, it'll be over towards the Mississippi River and up towards the Delta. It's going to be a warm, windy day, and part of the weekend looks very wet. I pin that down for you next. You're watching 16 WAPT News.
The Associated Press Best Newscast in Mississippi and an Emmy Award for Best Newscast in the Southeast region. This is 16 WAPT News, the one to watch.